Good afternoon. So in the last class, we have a detailed discussion about what is mass communication and what are the sources of mass communication, what is a message, what are the channels, and why it is called medium is called as message, and what is mass media, who are the media audiences, and demassification of mass media, and a new concept called global village. So in today's class, we'll move ahead and we'll talk about what exactly, are the communication technology and what are the, tools of communication technologies. Okay. So let's start with basic, what is computer? What is a computer? So a computer is a digital electronic machine, which is programmed in such a way to carry out sequences of arithmetic or logical operations, automatically. And, modern computers can perform generic sets of operations known as programs. And these programs enable computers to perform a wide range of tasks. Okay, so coming on to internet. What is internet? So, internet is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication facilities, consisting of interconnected networks using standardized communication protocols. And basically, internet is one of the important tools of new media technology. Okay, internet is the basic platform where all these, sending and receiving of messages takes place. It's an important channel of communication in new media. Okay, so in the previous classes, we have dealt with what exactly is, interactivity, connectivity. So there are three aspects of convergence, and that are connectivity, interactivity, and multimedia. So connectivity, what is connectivity? Connectivity refers to the connection of computers to one another by a communication line in order to provide online information access and or the sharing of the peripheral devices connected in the network. So basically connectivity, is nothing but the connection between the computers, whereby communication, in order to facilitate the communication process. So, and next is interactivity. So interactivity refers to two-way communication where, the user can respond to information he or she receives and also modify, what a computer is doing. So that is, there is an, exchange or dialogue between the user and the computer responds to user requests. And there is the next aspect. The next aspect is multimedia, wherein multimedia refers to technology that presents information in more than one medium, such as text, pictures, video, sound, and animation in a single integrated communication. In multimedia, all these aspects, all the, mediums, text, pictures, video, sounds, and animation, everything is integrated, and, to see that the communication process is efficient. And the development of the World Wide Web expanded the internet to include, pictures, sound, music, and so on, and as well as text. So, and we have also dealt with ICT. So what is the impact of ICT? So ICT has resulted in, faster communication speed, where, in internet, news or messages are sent via email to friends or business partners or to anyone efficiently. And with the increased capability of bandwidth, broadband, and connection speed on the internet, any information can travel fast and instantly, and it saves time and is also inexpensive. And also, one of the impact is lower communication cost, where, internet is highly cost effective, so it allows people to have access to large amount of data at a very low cost, and the cost of connection to the internet is relatively cheaper than other mediums. And for example, if you want to communicate via electronic media, via the medium of television, the cost is high. So when compared to all these forms of communication, the new media, internet, is very cost effective, and it's a reliable mode of communication. With the internet, information could be accessed and retrieved from anywhere and at any point of time. Since the input to the computer is contributed by humans, if the data passed to the computer is faulty, then the result will be faulty as well. So what you feed in, what exactly you feed in, you will get according to that. So if you pass on, if you feed a wrong information, the result will also be wrong. And then there is sharing of information. With the advancement of ICT, information can be shared by people all around the world, and they can exchange opinions, news, and information through discussion groups, mailing lists, and forums on the internet, thereby developing knowledge-based society. And ICT is also a paperless environment. Where ICT technology has created the term paperless environment, which means the information can be stored and retrieved through the digital medium instead of paper. Online communication via emails, online chat, and instant messaging also help in creating the paperless environment. And it has also facilitated for borderless communication. Internet offers fast information retrieval, interactivity, accessibility, and versatility. It has become a borderless source for services and information. And apart from advantages, internet ICT also has certain disadvantages or side effects, or we can call demerits. Okay, so what are the demerits? Like social problems. Nowadays, people, tend to choose online communication rather than having real-time conversations, with their friends and family. And apart from that, there is, fraud, identity theft, cybercrime, uh, pornography, and hacking. These are also unethical practices, which will result in a moral deficit and generate, threats to the ethical. We have this. Few cybercrime branches where there are ethical guidelines which needs to be followed. So these are the demerits, and also health problems, of course, because a computer may harm users if they use it for long hours. If we use computers, if we sit at a place and stare at the computer for a long hours frequently, computer users are exposed to bad posture. Then there is eye strain, physical and mental stress. And in order to solve health problems, an ergonomic environment should be introduced. There should be basic guidelines which needs to be followed to overcome all these demerits of ICT. So next is IT infrastructure components. So IT infrastructure is composed of 5 major components, that is computer hardware, computer software, data management technology, network and telecommunications technology, and technology services. These components must be coordinated with one another. So computer hardware, it involves various components like motherboard, memory units, serial ports, ICs, mouse, keyboard, peripherals like printers, routers, servers, display IC cards, etc. They help the computer in processing data and data storage and for input and output of data. So what is computer software? Software includes both system software and application software, wherein system software manages the resources and activities of the computer, and application software, on the other hand, applies the computer to a specific task for an end user, such as processing in order to generating a mailing list. Both are programs written in various computer languages with huge lines of codes that carry instructions to perform various tasks like guiding sites to targets. And there is data management technology, wherein data management software organizes, manages, and processes business data concerned. And networking and telecommunications technology provides data, voice and video connectivity to employees and to its customers and also for the suppliers. Then there is a technology services wherein business need people to run and manage the other infrastructure components, and they train employees to use to make them equipped with how these technology, how to use these upcoming technologies for their work. Okay, so as we discussed, what is a computer? It's a general purpose device that can be programmed out to carry an infinite or finite set of arithmetical or logical operations. Then there are various types of computers like personal computers, workstation, server, supercomputer, grid computing, and we have this computer networks and client server computing, where the communication networks links multiple computers for processing in a distributed environment, where each machine has its own processing capabilities. So the more widely used form of distributed processing is client server computing. And then there is client server technology, splits the processing between client and server. So who is a client? Client is the user point of entry for the required function, and is normally a desktop or laptop computer, and the user generally interacts directly only with the client portion of the application. The server, on the other hand, provides the client with services. So coming back to hardware and software. Hardware consists of all the machinery and equipment in a computer system, which can be physically seen. And the hardware will consist of the following components like keyboard, mouse, CPU, power supply, screen, processor chip, and memory chip. Keyboard is a input device that converts letters, numbers, and other characters into electrical signals readable by the processor. And mouse is a non-keyboard input device, or we can call it as a pointing device that is used to manipulate objects viewed or the computer display. Then we have CPU, also known as the system unit, or it houses the processor chip CPU and the memory chips, and the motherboard with power supply, as well as some secondary storage devices. And what is power supply? It's power supply unit provides the power required for the computer to operate, and a fan is a part of the system, to keep the circuitry from overheating. That's why if you observe in various labs and news labs, wherever there are huge computers, so those labs are equipped with air condition, right? Air conditioned labs, so that prevent the computers from overheating. Then processor chip, coming to processor chip, it is a tiny piece of silicon that contains millions of miniature electronic circuits. Then memory chips, also known as the RAM chips, represent primary storage or temporary storage. They hold data before processing and information after processing before it is sent along to an output or storage device. So and then there are other hardware components like motherboard, video card, sound card, and printer. So video card, converts the processor's output information into a video signal that can be sent to a cable to the monitor. Then sound card enhances the computer's sound generating capabilities by allowing sound to be output through speakers. And printer is an output device that produces and reproduces text and graphics on paper. And there are certain storage devices as well, like floppy disk, hard disk drive. Then there are magnetic discs, optical disc, magnetic tape, and there is a compact disc or a CD drive. Then we have storage networking, where large firm use network based storage technologies to deal with the complexity and cost of storage requirement. And there are input and output devices, wherein human beings interact with computer system largely through input and output devices. And input devices gather data and convert them into electronic form for use by the computer. And the output devices display the data after they have been processed. Okay, so there are certain hardware tools. There are contemporary hardware tools, uh, and we have seen that the exploding computational power of computer hardware and networking technology has changed how businesses are organized in the contemporary age. Like we have few contemporary tools like the emerging mobile digital platform. It has also emerged as an alternative to PCs and large computers, and devices such as smartphones, cell phones, which they were used to perform many functions, including the transmission of data. It is used for surfing the internet or transmission of email and instant messages, and also displaying digital content and exchange of business data. Gone were the days where people used to carry, people used to sit on the computer and check their emails, or or interact using internet. But now with these emerging mobile digital platforms, we can also access all these information through mobile phone via internet. Like we can access our emails, or we can access the internet or browser through our mobile phone. Then there is nanotechnology. It is used to create computer chips and other electronic gadgets, and which are smaller in size than these existing technologies. That's known as the nanotechnology. The term nanotechnology itself refers to the smaller size gadgets. Then we have something called as cloud computing. It's a new computing paradigm, in which firms and individuals, they open computing resources and software applications over the internet, on a paid basis, of course. And cloud computing consists of three different types of services, and that is a cloud infrastructure as a service. Then we have a cloud platform as a service, and also we have a cloud software as a service, wherein customers use software hosted by the vendor. Okay, and in the cloud platform, they use programming tools and infrastructures, which is hosted by the service provider to develop their own applications. Okay, then we have something called as autonomic computing. It is an industry-wide effort, to develop a system that can configure the required business processes, and also it can optimize and tune to the required environment. And it will heal. It will automatically heal whenever it is broken, and it protect. These autonomic computing, they protect themselves, from outside intruders or hackers, and from self-destruction as well. Then we have multi-core processors, wherein integrated circuits with one or more processor performing multiple tasks. We have virtualization, wherein running multiple operating systems at the same time on a single machine. Okay, so coming to software, as we discussed, software is a collection of computer programs and related data that provide electronic instructions. It tells a computer what to perform and how it should perform. Then software also refers to one or more computer programs and data held in the storage of the computer for some purposes. In other words, we can also say that software is a set of programs, procedures, algorithm, and its documentation. Okay, so program software performs the function of the program it implements, either by directly providing instructions to the computer hardware, or by serving as input to another piece of software. So in contrast to hardware, software is intangible, meaning it cannot be touched. It cannot be, uh, it cannot be seen physically, but it's there. It's there internally. It's a programming language. So as compared to hardware devices can be seen physically, it can be touched. Okay, it's tangible, whereas software is intangible. So we have operating system software. It is basically system software that manages and controls the computer's activities. So it controls the hardware, manages basic input and output operations, and it keeps tracks of a file saved on disk and in memory. And it also directs communication between the CPU and other pieces of hardware. And it also coordinates how other programs work with the hardware and with each other. So operating system also provide, the user interface. When the computer is turned on, the operating system is loaded into computer's RAM, and no other program can work until the operating system is, booted. We have a computer language translators. They convert, the program languages into computer readable machine language. So computer, should they have their own language, and whatever you feed into the computer should be understandable, should be readable and understandable by the machine. So it converts, the programming languages. So computer language translate, it converts the language into a format wherein, the machine can easily understand the language. For example, if we are Telugu speaking people, and something is written in Bengali, and if you want to understand like what it exactly means, so we have something called as Google translators, where we we put copy paste the entire text, and it automatically gets translated into Telugu. So that kind of translators is known as computer language translator. Okay, then we have utility programs. It performs common processing tasks such as printing or computations. For example, copying or sorting, and it also handles system interrupts. Then we have something called as application software, where business driven software application tools are available to accomplish the business need. For example, they are developed traditional programming and object oriented programming and fourth generation languages. It is an integrated enterprise application. So we have internet software tools to build websites and applications that run to fulfill the business requirements on the web. For example, Java, .NET, and Ajax are used for building applications that run on the web, and HTML is used for creating web pages. We have web services. What are the web services? It refers to a set of loosely coupled software components that exchange information with each other using universal web communication standards and languages. And examples of software can be end user applications of computers, such as word processors or video games, and ERP software, etc. Then we have middleware programming languages, and you have system software. Also, system software also includes operating systems which govern computing resources. And today there are large applications running on remote machines, such as websites, that are considered to be system software, because the end user interface is generally through a graphical user interface, such as web browser. Then there is something called as testware. It is a software for testing hardware, or a software package. Okay, and then coming to contemporary software tools, there are sources available to users for obtaining software and capabilities to create their own customized software applications, like open source software, cloud computing, and mashups. What is mashup? It is one of the web application that takes information from more than one sources and presents in a new way, or with a something with unique layout. Okay, so there moving on to information processing cycle. So in the information processing cycle is deployed in different forms on any given day, and following this I will be discussing in input, typical input devices, processing, storage operation, primary storage, memory, secondary storage, tertiary storage, okay, flash memory, output operations. These are some of the components of information processing cycle. Where how the information is processed through these components we'll be discussing in detail. So let's start with input. So input is whatever we put into a computer system, whatever information we feed into the computer is known as input. So input can be, any kind of data. It can be letters, numbers, it can be any symbols, or even shapes or colors, and even, temperatures, sounds, pressure, light, anything, any raw material that needs processing is called as input. And when we type some words or numbers on a keyboard, those are considered as input data. Then we have this typical input devices are keyboards, mouse, scanners, and barcode readers, microphone, joystick, still camera, and video camera. So from these devices, the input can be feed into the computer. Then what is processing? It is the manipulation a computer does to transform data into information. Whatever information we feed into the computer, it process into, that raw data is processed into information so that the computer can understand. And when the computer adds two numbers and the answer generated is act of processing. Whatever the computer generates after input is known as processing. And the processing, is done by the central processing unit device. It consists of, electronic circuitry that executes instructions to process data. Then we have storage operation. Storage or mass storage, refers to various techniques and devices for storing, large amounts of data. And storage is of, two types. One is temporary storage and permanent storage. And permanent storage can also be called as primary storage. So, what is primary storage? It is the internal computer circuitry that temporarily holds data, waiting to be processed. It's temporary. It That means it can be deleted anytime. And what is secondary? Secondary storage, is also it can also be called as simply called storage, and it refers to, to the devices and media that store data information permanently, so which cannot be deleted. The data which cannot be deleted is known as the secondary storage. And a hard disk or CD, DVD is an example of this kind of storage. And we have a tertiary or optical storage, unlike, floppy and hard disks, which use electromagnetism to input data. Optical disk systems use a, laser to read and write data. And optical disks, have very large storage capacity, but they are, not as fast as these hard disks. For example, we have CD, DVD, or DVD-R. These are the, optical storage or tertiary storage. Then we have flash memory. Flash memory, it's faster than disk storage, with up to 4 GB or more amount of data, transferring over universal serial bus, that is known as USB. Then we have output operation. Output is whatever is output from the computer and a system and the results of processing. So after giving the input, after feeding the data, the computer process, right, the information. Then usually whatever the computer generates, this is known as the information output operation. For examples of output, are number of pictures displayed on a screen. We have words printed out on a paper by a printer, or we can also have, music coming over from some loudspeakers. That is also known as output operation. So input, we have some input, processing of data, and then we have output operation. Okay. So it's clear, Vicky? So let's move on to another topic. So IT in communication industries. So these days, most common IT communication technology is internet, and most computers share, communications ability, which offers an extension capability. So in other words, we can say it extends the power of the computer, with wired or wireless communication connections. So we have this kind of communication connections. Okay, Vicky, it's clear. Good. So with wired or wireless communication connections, data may be, input from a far off place and processed in a remote area or stored in several different locations and output in yet another places. So this kind of storage is primarily done through cloud computing. Okay. So basically, this type of technology is used in communication industry. Then we have this mobile communication. It must accommodate a large number of users over a large geographical area with limited frequency spectrum with a limited number of channels. um, let me tell you, for example, if a single transmitter or a receiver is used with only a single base station, then some sufficient amount of power may not be present. Okay, so hence a high power transmitter has to be used. Okay, for generally processing large amount of data, a higher transmitter has to be used. And for example, a higher power radio transmitter, it causes harm to environment because uh, it has radiation, high amount of radiation, which is very harmful for the environment, for the people, for the surrounding. Okay, so mobile communication thus calls for replacing these high power transmitters by low transmitters by dividing the coverage area into small segment called cells. Okay, so what does these cells do? These cells, they uses a certain number of available channels and a group of adjacent cells together. They use all together to use all the available channels in that surrounding area, and such a group is called a cluster. Means dividing the population into small amount of segments. Okay, small grouping the population into small segments is known as cluster. So this cluster can repeat itself, and hence the same set of channels can be used again and again. Okay, for transmitting of information. So this cluster is nothing but a cell. Okay, so each cell has a lower power transmitter with a coverage area equal to the area of the cell. Okay, wherein this technique of substituting a single high power transmitter by several low power transmitters to support many users is the backbone of the cellular concept. So this concept can be used to reduce the radiation and the harmful effects which is a threat to the environment. Okay, so grouping the population and clustering into dividing into a cell, and again repeating itself, to reduce the transmission. Okay, so in present day mobile communication, radio has been used extensively, from a long period of time, because when there was no television, no internet, the radio has been used, and still it's been extensively used by rural areas, and still in urban areas as well. There are so many private FM channels they have come up, and it's still been extensively used for sometimes for gaining information, for entertainment, mostly uh, entertainment, for listening entertainment program and education programs. And then the range of mobility, this range of mobility for the radio was defined by the transmitter power and the type of antenna used, and the frequency of operation. And with the increase in the number of users, then within the limited available frequency spectrum, it became a major problem. So to resolve this problem, the concept of cellular communication was evolved. Okay, so the present day cellular communication, it uses a basic unit called cell, and each cell consists of small hexagonal area with a base station located at the center of the cell, which communicates with the user. And to accommodate multiple users, there are time division, multiple access, port division, multiple access, frequency division, and their hybrids are used. And numerous mobile radio standards have been deployed at various places, and each utilizing different set of frequency, allocating different number of users and channels. For example, there are so many FM private FM radio stations. Okay, so each major city is been designated separate stations, separate radio stations, so that this is the example of what is called as the cluster, dividing into each cell. For example, Hyderabad have different set of frequencies, radio stations, and Mumbai, Delhi, they have separate frequencies and separate radio stations. Okay, so in that way, they have divided, the frequency division into multiple access. Then the modern wireless communication systems, at the initial phase, mobile communication was restricted to certain official uses. At the growth of the cellular concept, was very slow in the initial days. And then, however, with the development of newer and better technologies starting from the 70s, and with the mobile users now connected to the, there has been a remarkable growth in the cellular radio. And however, the speed of mobile communication was very fast after 1990, after the LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. The speed of mobile communication has increased. There is a remarkable change. Okay, so in the first generation networks, the mobile phone system in the market was AMPS. Okay, it was one of first US cellular telephone system. It was deployed in Chicago in 1983. Okay, and the main technology of this first generation mobile system was, analog FM. Then that is 1G. Then it moved on to 2G, second generation network, where digital modulation formats were introduced, and the main technology was TDMA. And the 2G systems introduced the popular TDMA standards. Okay, in the market. Then they moved on to the third generation 3G. Okay, and then we are into, after 4G, we have launched, we have come into 5G. Okay, so there are different categories. When fourth generation mobile phones, it with what it provided broadband cellular networks, such as which was successor to 2G and 3G, and also it provided an IP based cellular communications. Okay, and advanced specifications, it was, they were laid down by International Telecommunication Union as well. So now we have entered into 5G. So next is wireless transmission protocols. And any doubt? It's clear. Okay. So we discussed earlier. Now we discussed about input. Okay, the information we feed to the computer. Then we have processing and output. So we have something called HTML. So what is HTML? It stands for hypertext. HTML stands for hypertext markup language. It is the predominant markup language for web pages. It provides a means of create structured documents by denoting structural semantics for text, such as headings, paragraphs, lists, etc., and as well as for links, quotes, and other items. There's nothing but a language. Okay, hypertext markup language, which allows the images and objects to be embedded, and that can be used to create interactive forms. All these images, objects, text, everything can be embedded to create interactive forms, and it is written in the form of HTML elements consisting of tags surrounded by angle brackets within the web page content. And it can include or can load scripts in languages such as JavaScript, which affect the behavior of HTML processes like web browsers and cascading style sheets. That is nothing but CSS, to define the appearance and layout of text and other materials. So it's the maintainer of both HTML and CSS standards, that encourages the use of CSS over explicit presentational markup. CSS is nothing but cascading style sheet. So uh, HTML is the language that is used to embed and create interactive form of language, okay, to be processed by the computer. So let's move on to the history of the computers and internet. So in 1980 there was a physicist Tim Berners-Lee who was a contractor, and he proposed and prototyped and acquired a system for researchers to use and share documents. So in 1989, Berners-Lee he wrote a memo proposing an internet-based hypertext system. So Berners-Lee specified HTML and wrote the browser and server software in the last part of 1990. In that year, Berners-Lee and data systems engineer Robert Celilao, they collaborated on a joint request for funding, but the project was not formally adopted. And in his personal notes from 1990, he lists some of the many areas in which hypertext is used and puts an encyclopedia first. So first there was first specification. The first publicly available description of HTML was a document called HTML tags. It was first mentioned on the internet by Berners-Lee in late 1991, and then it describes 20 elements comprising the initial relatively simple design of HTML. So except for the hyperlink tag, these were strongly influenced by the HTML based documentation format, and 13 of these elements still exist in HTML. Okay, so HTML is a text and image formatting language. Okay, in short, HTML is a text and image formatting language used by web browsers to dynamically format web pages. So many of the text elements are found in the 1988 ISO technical report, called Techniques for Using HTML, which in turn covers the features of early text formatting languages, such as the that used by the computers. So Berners-Lee, considered HTML to be an application. Then it was formally defined as such by the Internet Engineering Task Force, and with the mid 1993, the proposal for an HTML specification, that is hypertext markup language, was drafted by Berners-Lee, which included a document type definition to define the program. Okay. So coming to URL. So what is a URL? So it is a URL means a unique resource locator. URL is a subset of the uniform resource identity. Earlier it was known as URI. Now it has been changed to URL. It is nothing but it specifies where an identified resource is available. It is the link. The link is known as the link to search the document. Okay, URL is the link to search a document. It specifies where an identified resource is available and the mechanism for retrieving it. So in popular usage and in many technical documents and verbal discussions, it is often known as URL. And the best example of URL, of which the address of a web page is World Wide Web. Okay, so the unique resource locator, it was created in 1994 by Tim Berners-Lee as part of the URI. I told you it was earlier called as Uniform Resource Identifier, which has been changed to URL, Unique Resource Locator. And Berners-Lee, he regrets the use of dots to separate the root of the server, and he wishes he had used slash for the whole thing. For example, see, earlier, the the URI consisted of dots. Okay, instead of now, if we look at a URL a link, it consists of slash, right? HTTP slash. We have the use of slash right now. So earlier, when Berners-Lee, created URI, it had dot. So later he modified it, and He removed those dot and replaced it with slash. So every URL consists of some of the following. What it consists, for example, a scheme name, commonly called as protocol. It followed by a colon. Then depending on scheme, a host name. Alternatively, we can call it as IP address, a port number, a unique number which the URL has. Then the path of the resource to be fetched or the program to be run. Okay. Then for programs such as common gateway interface, that is known as CGI script. Okay, a query string like what you want to search, then and with HTML documents, an anchor is optional, then for where the page should start to display. Okay, so this is called as URL, the link. Okay, then we have something called as hyperlink. A hyperlink, or simply called as link, is a reference to a document that the reader can directly follow. Okay, or that is followed automatically. For example, the reference points to a whole document or to a specific element with the document. So link, okay, link is followed by hypertext. Hypertext is with hyperlinks. Okay, such text is usually viewed with a computer, and also a software system for viewing and creating hypertext, is a hypertext system. So to hyperlink means to simply link. Okay, to link the document means hyperlink is to create a hyperlink. Okay, a user following hyperlink is set to navigate or browse that hypertext. For example, if you copy paste a link, suppose if I copy paste a link in the chat box, you can directly click on the link and access the information, the location. Okay, so what is a hyperlink? A hyperlink, what does it consist of? It consists of an anchor, which is a location within a document from which the hyperlink can be followed, and that document is known as its source document. Okay, so the target of a hyperlink is the document or location within a document, that has to be retrieved. Target is to open that link, the address. Okay, we have to retrieve the document. So that's the reason a hyperlink has to be created, and the user can follow the link which its anchor is shown by activating it in some way. Okay, often by touching it or by clicking it on, or with a pointer device, or just simply clicking with the mouse. Following has the it has an effect. We can retrieve the information through the hyperlink. Okay, and in some hypertext, hyperlinks can be bidirectional. That means they can be followed in two directions. So both points act as anchors and as targets, and we can retrieve two documents at a time. It is more complex arrangement, and it exists. It has many links. That's known as bidirectional hyperlink. Okay. So example of hypertext today is nothing but World Wide Web, wherein web pages contain hyperlinks to access. For example, in an online reference work such as Wikipedia, many words and terms in the text are hyperlinked to definitions of those terms. Okay. Okay, we have in the brackets will be given the source to retrieve the information, right? The source from where it has taken the retrieval link. So hyperlinks are often used to implement reference mechanisms that predate the computer, such as tables of contents or footnotes, sometimes bibliographics, indexes, and glossaries. Okay, so the effect of following a hyperlink may vary with the hypertext system and sometimes on the link itself. For instance, on the World Wide Web, most hyperlinks cause the document to replace the document being displaced. Okay, you will be taken to, if you click on that link, the retrieval link, we will be navigating to another web page. But somehow marked to cause the target document to open in a new window. A new window would pop up for you to access the information. So, and another possibility is, transclusion, which means the link target is a document and that replaces the link anchor with the source document. Okay. Then we have a third option, when an automatic software program, it transfers the hypertext following, each hyperlink and gathering all the retrieved documents at one place. So this the program, okay, this program where all the information is gathered and retrieved at a one at one place, is said to be spidering or crawling. Okay, crawling the hypertext, wherein all the information is retrieved at one place. So what is a web search engine? See, for example, if we click on a link, you will be navigating to another page, okay, where it will be mentioned that search engine redirects here, or for other users, see search engine. Okay, these type of sentence would be there. So what exactly is a search engine? So a web search engine is designed to search for information on the World Wide Web. So the search results, wherever we feed the information, we have a box there. For example, Google Chrome, Google, all these are search engine, where we can retrieve the information, where the results are displayed. The search results are usually presented in a list of results and are commonly called hits. Okay, so the information may consist of web pages, sometimes images, sometimes videos, and we have information and other types of files. Okay, such as Word documents or PDF. And some search engines also mine data available in databases or open directories. Okay, and they display all those information. Unlike web directories, which are maintained by human editors, search engines operate algorithmically, or are a mixture of algorithmic and human input. Okay, so this is a search engine. Okay, how do search engine work? Okay, it's understood. Okay, so I see in the chat box, domain name, internet protocol, HTML. Yeah, very good, Vicky, Vikram. Good. Okay, so this is about internet, computer, and search engine. Any doubts till now? If you're clear with these concepts, we'll move ahead to another concept, that's wireless transmission protocols. Okay, so there are several transmission protocols in wireless to achieve different application oriented tasks. And for example, there are a few terms like wireless local loop. Okay, so what is WLL, wireless local loop? Do you have an idea? Okay, these are wireless transmission technologies. Okay, wherein it it felicitates with new services, which includes the concept of local multi-point distribution of services. Okay, through which in turn provides broadband telecommunication access in the local area network. See, for example, Bluetooth and a wireless local area network. Okay, these are the example of wireless transmission protocols. When Bluetooth facilitates the transmission over short distances from fixed mobile devices or from laptops. Okay, where you can transmit or send the you can share the data from a very short distance using a mobile phone or a computer or a laptop. Okay, and Bluetooth in radio technology, it is called as frequency. Okay, then we have wireless local area networks. Okay, This is also, wireless network with Wi-Fi. It requires Wi-Fi networks. It has limited range. Okay. And with the stock antenna, it might have range of 32 million indoors, and outdoors it has 35-meter distance, and it the range also varies with frequency band as well. Okay. So we have been talking about Wi-Fi. So what is Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is a popular, a technology that allows an electronic device to exchange data or connect to the internet, wirelessly using radio waves. Wireless in the sense it requires radio wave to connect to the internet and transmit data. So the Wi-Fi alliance, Wi-Fi is, any wireless local area network products, that are based on the use of frequency, the use of radio waves and the frequency to connect to the internet. So since most modern wireless networks are based on the standards, the term Wi-Fi is used in general English as a synonym for wireless network. Okay. So, many devices can be connected using Wi-Fi. For example, personal computers or smartphones, digital cameras, tablet computers, digital audio players. All these things can be connected to Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi, yeah, okay, wireless fidelity printers, right? So Wi-Fi can be less secure than wired connections, and because an intruder does not need a physical connection to intrude or hack. So that's the reason it's very less secure than the wired connection, because it's very easy to connect. Okay, suppose if you are outside, if you are at a railway station, okay, and you are connecting to a wireless network Wi-Fi, so chances are there that an intruder can intrude, or the connection can be insecure, right? So there is a security problem with Wi-Fi. It's less secure, when we are out on, if the connection is not private, then there is a threat. Okay. And web pages that uses secure but encrypted the internet access can easily be detected by intruders if you are connecting to Wi-Fi outside. Okay, because of this, Wi-Fi has adopted various encryption technologies now. And in future trends, tremendous changes are taking place in the field of mobile radio communications these days. And the mobile phone is rapidly turning into sophisticated device, capable of more applications. Right now, we can term a mobile phone as a mini laptop. Okay, because we can, these days a smartphone is able to perform all the operations and all the applications which a computer can perform, right? So rapid development of the internet with its new services and applications has created fresh challenges for the further development of mobile communication systems. And further enhancements in modulation schemes will soon increase the internet access rates in the mobile phone as well. From the mbps also would be increased, from currently it's 1.8 mbps, so in future it can be greater than 10 mbps. And also Bluetooth is rapidly becoming a common feature in mobiles for local connections. And the mobile communication has provided global connectivity to the users at a very low cost due to advancements in these new technologies using internet. Okay, we have the satellite communication. What is a satellite? Satellites, they orbit around the earth, right? So depending upon the application, these orbits can be circular or elliptical. Okay, the way in which these satellites orbit around the earth, they can be sometimes be circular or in an elliptical way. So they are responsible for providing the services to an assigned region area on the Earth. The satellites provide services, right? The power and bandwidth of these, satellites depend upon the preferred size of the footprint or the complexity of the traffic control protocol schemes, and also it depends on the cost of ground stations as well. Okay, there should be a station to receive these signals from the satellite, right? We have this that's known as satellite communication. So a satellite, it works most efficiently when the transmissions are focused within a desired area. It should be, as we discussed earlier, it should be divided into clusters. A specific radio station has to be assigned to receive those signals, and the Earth station should be in a position to control the satellite. So if it did, if it drifts from its orbit, if the satellite, if it drifts, if it changes from its orbit, it is subjected to drag from the external forces. If the area, if the area is focused, then the emissions don't go outside that designated area. Okay, and thus it minimizes the interference of other outside foreign objects. Okay, this leads more efficient spectrum usage, so the signals can be utilized effectively. So what are the so in which area these satellite applications are taking place? Major applications of satellite is taking place. It's used for weather forecasting. Okay, radio and TV broadcast. Then we have military satellites for navigation satellites, for global telephone, then for connecting to remote areas, for a global mobile communication, then for GPS devices. Okay, global positioning systems. Okay, and so for most common is the radio and TV broadcast. Okay, understood? Clear on all these aspects? Okay, clear. Okay, so what is a server? Server is Server is a central computer in an network that holds collection of data and programs, for connecting PCs and workstations and other devices, which are called as clients. So why it's important? Because servers enable many users to share equipment, programs, and data. Okay, so these are some technical terms used in internet. Data, we have discussed about data. Data is nothing but the raw material, the raw facts and figures that we process, that we feed into the as an output to the computer, where it is processed into information. Okay, so that's and it's very important for users to collect this data. To create, it helps create it helps in creating useful information. Okay, whereas the output is generated into a meaningful information. So about email, you're clear about email and all these hardware and software devices, right? Input, output, everything. So these are the some of the basics of internet. Okay, so coming to the origin of internet, in 1969, the Department of Defense of USA started a network called ARPANET, that is Advanced Research Projects Administration Network. So their goal, was to connect mainframe computers at different universities around the country so that they would be able to communicate using a common language and a common protocol. So in the last class, we discussed about mainframe computers, right? The origin of computers. So ARPANET, it quickly grew to cover the entire American continent by early 70s, and it has spanned the US continent and was extended to some parts of US as well by 1973, and and later to the rest of the world. And around 1980, with the advancement of these modern communication facilities, the original ARPANET eventually grew into the internet by the end of 1990. And the internet was based on the concept that there would be multiple independent networks that begin with the ARPANET as the pioneering packet switching network. and but soon it included, packet satellite networks and ground, based radio networks, etc. So now, by the end of 1990, internet was evolved. Internet has evolved, and how it has started to function. So what is internet? Internet, is a non-governmental organization, of course, where, the ultimate authority is the internet society. That means, it means that, it's a voluntary membership organization whose purpose is to promote universal information exchange. It is not governed by an external forces or government authority. It's an independent entity to promote universal exchange of information. And internet's growth compounded with usage of email. Okay, email were widely used earlier, which, and of course now today as well, which is where data is transmitted through internet, and the message reaches the destination located at any part of the world within minutes of transmission. So before this, video calling apps and other technology evolved, email was very popular tool, to transmit information, to reach to people located at any point of the world. Okay, so the let's come to the growth of internet and the, emergence of World Wide Web. So as we discussed, the World Wide Web is a repository of information, it spread all over the world and linked together for easy access. It is made up of documents called pages, okay, that combine text, pictures, sounds, animation, graphics, and hypertext links into rich communication medium. For several users, it is the most, exciting aspect of the internet, and has accelerated the growth of the internet by giving it an, easy to use point, and just at a click of a document, you'll be able to retrieve the information. And the users, are attracted to the term World Wide Web, www, because it's interactive in nature, right? So this, as we have discussed earlier, the World Wide Web was invented by Tim Berners-Lee, okay, and Robert Calliope while working at European Laboratory for Practical Physics, okay. So we have done with hyperlinks, internet services. What are the internet services? Internet provide, not only we can access to information on the internet, we can also have access to people all over the world, okay, through various source and tools available on the internet, like email, internet chat, and then cyber rooms. Earlier cyber rooms were favorite, now video calls, okay, messaging apps, etc. So these are some of the internet services where we can, get connected with people around the world. And these days web conferencing, and video calling services are very famous and very popular. And we have video calling services like Skype, Zoom, we have Google Meet platform which we are using, we have WhatsApp, okay, so what Messenger. These are, very popular apps these days to connect to people all around the world, okay. So there is something called as netiquette, okay. What is netiquette? Like we have a term called etiquette, we have netiquette, that is, we have some rules that are governed for the users of the internet. And when communicating on the internet, it is essential to observe certain rules of behavior, okay. And effective communications are governed by etiquette. We have some internet principles or internet etiquette. Actually, it refers to rules and principles of behavior, like what to do, what to avoid, and what are the ethics to be followed while, using these kind of discussion groups, okay. So what are the etiquettes? First is never be anonymous. So while communicating in these types of web discussions, always identify yourself, okay, and begin messages with salutation and end with your name, okay. Always be, okay, use a signature, means that define your identity, okay. You can also include a subject line. For example, you can start with a simple phrase like "Hi there," and you should avoid sarcasm. Okay, while discussing, while while having a web conference, or while having a group conference or group meeting, always avoid sarcasm. So people may misinterpret its meaning and it may offend them. Okay, and respect others privacy. Okay, do not quote or forward personal email without the original author's permission, and always acknowledge return messages promptly. Okay, do not spam, and also be concise with your messages and use appropriate language. And you should avoid rough or rude language. Observe good grammar and spelling. Okay, spell check, and use appropriate emoticons, or emotion icons, to help convey whatever the meaning you want to convey. Use smileys, for example, or punctuation, to convey emotions. Then use appropriate intensifiers to help convey a meaning. Okay. Okay, do not scream, or do not use a shortcut, or use acronyms like lol, or do not disturb, or do not use italics or bold while typing. Okay, so these are some of the etiquettes which is to be followed while addressing a web conference. Okay, so there is a term known as netizens. Okay, as we have a term called citizen, we have something called as netizens, which means netizens means the users of internet, the internet citizens. Okay, it is defined as an entity or person actively involved in online communities, and a user of the internet. Okay, for example, if you are actively, if you are user of the internet and you uses all forms of social media tools, and if you are very active on the internet, you can be called as netizen. Okay. um, okay, and we can also, netizens are sometimes commonly referred to as cyber citizens. This is a very common term known as cyber citizens. If you are very active on the internet, if you uses all the new media technologies, communication, social media tools on internet, you can be termed as netizens or cyber citizens. Okay. Okay, so we have also discussed about search engine, right? So I told you the computer is a search engine, searches information through the use of algorithm, right? So what is algorithm? What is a search algorithm? A search algorithm, it is a unique formula, that a search engine uses to retrieve specific information stored within a data, and it determines the significance of a web page and its content. Okay, that means search algorithms are unique to their search engine, and it determines search engine results rankings of web pages. Okay, if suppose you want to search something on the search engine web page, you you just okay, enter the text, and then it display the results. It will display the results according to its popularity or ranking. Okay, and it uses specific algorithms based on their data size as well and structure to produce a written value. Okay, how the results will be displayed on the search engine, it is based on the popularity or the rankings of the search engine. Okay, how many times it has been searched by meta tags? Yes. So how many times the information has been retrieved, and how much popular the desired result is among the internet users. Okay, we have something called as desktop search engine. Okay, so it is the most compact form of search engine, and it helps in identifying the files that exist on the working machine by using vaguely remembered words. Okay, that means the keywords. Okay, Vicky, what is exactly keywords? keywords, which are keywords used for searching a document. Keyword searching. Yeah. Okay. Okay, keywords are used for search engine, because if we can't, the internet cannot retrieve the information if you copy paste the entire sentence or so. So, for example, if you want, yeah, right. Keyword searching, which includes in documents and web pages. The important words. Keywords are the important words or popular terms that can be used to retrieve information easily. Okay, the most vaguely remembered words, or which are a part of the content. So in response, what does the search engine do? It lists all the files that contain the required word and the specific style in the content, which can be used to retrieve the specific file which we want to access. Okay, so it searches the entire document through those words, the keywords. Okay, keywords is nothing but the important or vaguely remembered words or terms. Okay, then we have something called as enterprise search engine. So these are very complex, as they are capable of searching for the information across various systems, okay, within the enterprise, such as through internet and through application servers and a desktop. These enterprise search engine can search the entire documents, and these enterprise search engine is used in various corporate organizations, which using the files can be accessed by individuals, and it also, these types of search, they require authorization as well. Okay, which are defined based on the job definition and role. For example, if you are a senior, if you are most manager, if you're an employee of a particular organization, and if you want to retrieve some kind of information through enterprise search engine, you need to have a permission from the manager, from the required authority or authorization to access that information. Okay, so we have external websites. Yeah, we'll end the class in another 2 minutes till 4:35. Okay, so everything is clear, right? Okay, we have external websites, okay, which can be accessed by anyone with a web browser, and it require access to the internet. Okay, web search engine, you are sure, okay, MSN, Google Chrome, Yahoo, all these are web search engines. Yeah, Bing is also web search engine. Okay, so clear? Okay, so please go through all these terms, which terminology which we have used today, and see how we use all these techniques in our day-to-day life. Okay, what, like I have told you about search engine, keywords. Okay, try to search some information, try to retrieve some information using keywords and see how does it work. Okay, so let's meet up tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and we'll discuss with categories of search tools and other such topics. Okay. Okay, thanks. See you tomorrow.